probably most of us are probably parents, right? My son, who's 10, he was 3 weeks old when I gave the talk, a while ago. He's almost 11. When he learned to walk, like, it wasn't bad that he fell. It just want to make sure he didn't hit his head. You know what I mean? Anyway, so on postmortems, one of the great things about the DevOps culture, one of the core ideas is a so-called blameless postmortem. So the idea is when there's an outage, it's not trying to find whose fault it is. We want to understand what happened, right? But the goal is not to punish somebody and make them feel terrible. That can feel a little bit emotionally satisfying, I'll be honest, but that is not very valuable from an organizational perspective. What is valuable, though, is what can we learn? So we had this bad thing happen, we feel bad about it. How can we make sure that doesn't happen again? What can we do to detect it earlier? What can we do to diagnose it more quickly? What can we do to potentially mitigate the effects of that thing? How can we remediate faster, right? Those are the questions we should be asking, not who was the guy that pressed the button and let's fire that person, because that's not going to work. Yeah.
So speaking of learning, do you guys do anything else to kind of up-level the engineering team to formalize how they get better at what they do?
How do we formalize, how do we up-level the engineering team, and how do we make sure they get better at what they do? We are still getting better at that. We are still a pretty young company. So like I said, we only have 100 engineers. It's very apt that you asked that, though, because we have a lot of remote engineers. In fact, the majority of our engineers don't work in San Francisco, but we bring them in once a quarter for a week. So, and that's part of it, is like we bring them in obviously for the kind of social interaction and building of trust, but also so that we can kind of up-level everybody's skills. And one of the things that has become clear is as we have grown the organization, there are a bunch of gray hairs or no hairs that know a bunch of, have the scars and know a bunch of architectural things and sort of ideas about how to build event-driven systems and services and so on, which we could do a better job of helping level other people up. So I think we're going to start to have an internal seminar series and that type of idea. But we do very much encourage people to buy buy any book you want to, because really, there's no reason spending $20 or $50 on a book is anywhere bad. That is somebody who wants to learn that. We should encourage that, and we send people to conferences both to speak but also to learn. Yeah. Yes, sir.
My question is this: with continuous delivery, right? How do you still have any notion of iteration, time box, and review, and retrospective?
Yeah, that's a great question. So with continuous delivery, do we have a concept of iteration time? So the answer is sometimes, and I'm not trying to be vague or unsatisfying, but some of our teams, so again I mentioned back to actually your question, which is a great one, helping teams sort of autonomously figure out how to work together. Some of our teams have found that a 2-week iteration cycle works very well for their cadence. And so they do a 2-week iteration. Other teams feel more fluid about it and just sort of build things and release them when they're ready. And either way, the capabilities that you get from continuous delivery enable that. So, yeah. Okay, great. Yes, sir.
What do you think about the DevOps tools that are out there? Do you find them useful, and what are things to look for when trying to select them?
Yeah, sure. I said I wasn't going to talk about tools, but I said I wasn't going to formally talk about it, but I would happily informally answer any question. So what do I think about the DevOps tools? I think a lot of them are great. So we use lots of things. We use Heroku, which is a platform as a service. That's been a huge benefit for us. For various reasons, we're moving off of it, but it's been great for us for a long time. We use third-party monitoring systems. So we used to use New Relic, which is a kind of application performance management system for various reasons of usurious license fees. We use Datadog now, yeah, so we use all those things. I think, honestly, I think you should come in. You're not asking this and you're not implying this, but you should decide for you guys what you need and then go out and find the best tool that meets that. What I will say is, in the modern world, there are lots of things you can use. You very rarely have to run your own software if you don't want to. Sometimes we live in regulated worlds, or it's better and easier to run our own software. There's nothing wrong with that. But for all of these tools, there absolutely are options to not run it and just simply turn it on and pay for just your usage, and that has really nice properties. So my cynicism was about not about the tools in general, because the tools often have value. My cynicism is around vendors co-opting that, oh, you don't do DevOps unless you use my thing, because I don't buy that. Great, probably, thanks. Yeah.